Welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. This is the place where we take a no bullshit look at life's little lessons. Here, together, we find the spiritual glory in even the most wicked hard story. This is a journey from fear back to love and how we can find our greatest strength and happiness in some of the most unlikely places. I believe that if you're willing to change your mind, you can totally change your life. So, are you ready to rewrite your story and choose to live free? Let's do this. Hey, you guys, welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. I'm so excited because today I am not here by myself. Usually I am talking to you guys like a little weirdo up in the office, me in Toby pajamas, and just like talking to my own face in the screen. But today I have 4 friends with me, so I'm so excited. But before we get to them, let me just tell you what this episode is going to be called and why. Let me tell you what's happening in KK land, and then I'll invite these lovely people. I'll at least say their names. So today with me, I have Dakota Wallace, I have Jodie Gallant, I have Scott Reinert, and I have Kealoha Pomerantz, who we just call K. So I'm KK, she's K. And so these guys are here because they're going to help me to help you. All right. So today's podcast episode is called Feeling Called, Not Convinced. Feeling called, not convinced. And here's why. So if you've been paying attention at all, if you've been watching the show, you know that I've been kind of leading up to this kind of miraculous intervention that happened. My fucking spiritual team does not mess around. So my spiritual team has been on the job, like just dropping people and things into my life. And all of a sudden it was like, oh shit. Like if you listened to last week's episode with Andre Norman, it was like, oh shit, I guess I'm opening the nest because this person was just incredibly generous and blew my mind. And here we go. So I'm so psyched because Andre is going to be the guest teacher in my spiritual community and membership, The Nest, in April. I'm so excited. But so right now I'm in quote unquote what marketers and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and all the stuff would call launch mode. So I'm in the middle of launching. But I have kind of a unique problem in my business in that it's really hard sometimes for me to talk intelligently about what I do. I'm so close to my own work. It's just so natural. And it was really interesting because I was talking to a woman that I know, Emily, who's a friend of mine, and we've known each other for some time now. And she was kind of not complaining, but we were talking about how like people kind of don't know what we do. She's like, how is it after all this time and everything I put out on the internet that people don't know what I do? I'm like, you think you have a problem? I'm like 20 years older than you. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm still trying to get some people to know I'm not just the yoga lady, trying to get other people to understand what the fuck a spiritual mentor is. And like, what do you do in this? Is this like a cult, KK? Like, what is the nest? Like, what is happening over there, you spiritual people? What are you doing? What kind of voodoo magic is happening over there, right? And I'm always like, oh my God. And here's what I know. It is way more effective, efficient, and fun to have other people who are in the experience maybe help me to talk about, not convince you of anything. Hello, feeling called, not convinced, but to just give you some insight into the world of spiritual work. And what does that look like to take these universal spiritual principles and put them into practice? Like, what's it like to have a spiritual toolkit? What the fuck do you actually do? And it was interesting when I was talking to Emily because she said, so like, yeah, I love you and know you, and I still don't know what you do. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So I was trying to say to her, like, I have a friend, Stephanie Bordy, who is one half of the Star Sisters. And the Star Sisters do this amazing work in astrology and tarot readings and all this stuff. And Stephanie and I were talking the other day, and everything she was saying to me, I was joking with her. I said, Stephanie, and if you watch the show, you're going to see me do this, but I'll describe it for those of you who can't see my face right now. I was saying to her, Stephanie, every time I talk to you, I feel like I'm looking at your face, but right above your head, coming out of the crown of your head is like a projector that puts all the stars on the ceiling above you. And like, you just kind of take all the information, like you're always seeing human behavior what people are thinking and doing through the lens of astrology and where the stars and the planets are and how that's affecting us. And then my friend who does human design, Kelsey Abbott. And these are all people who have been teachers in the nest, amazing teachers in the nest. And then my friend Kelsey Abbott, same thing. I just feel like there's a projector on the ceiling of human design charts. So whenever she's talking to somebody, she's like, oh yeah, of course you do that because you have an open center and you have, you're a generator, or you're a projector, or you're a reflector, right? And so I see everything. The point I'm trying to make is I see everything through a spiritual lens. So somebody will come to me and it'll be like, let's just say everything. Let's just say whether it's addiction or whether, let's say, there's a problem of bulimia or food disorder, right? To me, those are spiritual maladies. Those are spiritual problems. I don't see that as only a biological, physiological problem. I see everything through the lens of spiritual. That is the spiritual scope is how I experience the world. So when somebody comes to me, whether they're suffering because a child died, or they had childhood trauma, or they just feel disconnected or dead inside, they don't have any joy, they want more peace, they're going through a divorce, like whatever the story is, the details, I always say it like this, the details of the stories might be different, but suffering is suffering. And we all tend to want the same thing ultimately, which is happiness, peace, and deep connection to self, source, and spirit, and then also to all the other relationships in our lives. So it's always been hard for me as a business owner to try and, come up with that one perfect profitable marketing message. And who's your ideal fucking client avatar? I don't know. Because if you are looking at the screen right now, I have somebody in their 20s and somebody in their 30s and somebody in their 40s and a dude in his 50s, right? You're in your 50s, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
someone said I looked like I was in my 60s the other day. I almost killed them. But because I have the nest, I did it. I see it. Saved another human.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what I'm saying is people come to this work from near and far, from young, and I'm not going to say old because we're not old, but there's a diverse kind of group of, I would say, reasons, a diverse group of reasons why people will find themselves in their world. But what I want to talk about today is none of them are here because I fucking convinced them of something. They are here because they felt called. Some part of their spiritual team gave them the nudge, or for some reason they heard me on a podcast or found me through a friend, but some part of their curiosity was piqued. And I have said this since day one as a yoga teacher. I say it to my writing clients, to the people in my life who are trying to find and use their voice, people who are on a spiritual journey, spiritual seekers. One of the number one characteristic that you can have is curiosity. The curiosity to know why you do what you do, why you think what you think, how you ended up here, and where you're going. A curiosity about your own capacity, about your own origin story, about to whom you truly belong, why we tell these stories and believe these shitty things about ourselves, the limited beliefs, right? So this curiosity. And so I wanted to talk to them today so that you guys at home who we're on episode like 10, I think this is 109. And you guys, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you're curious too, or you wouldn't fucking be here listening to me each week. So first of all, thank you for being here, for being curious. And I hope you won't just hang up and be like, marketing, this is going to be a thing where, no, just listen. Because I want you to understand, like, you're going to get an up close and impersonal peek behind the scenes of what we do in the nest, what spiritual mentoring is kind of like, and why people feel called to it. So if you're still listening right now, I'm telling you, it's because your spiritual team is like, maybe I need this. What is she going to say? I don't know. You have to stay tuned and find out. Okay. So enough about me. Well, actually, the last thing I'll say, they all laugh, because the last thing I'm going to say is, any time in my life that I truly just trusted my intuition, trusted my gut instinct, followed the curiosity of my intellect, and followed the call of my heart. I believe that the divine puts within us. There's a reason why when these guys start talking and they talk about maybe the work that they do and the things that interest them, you will see that I did not get their divine assignment. They did not get the divine assignment to open the nest and start a community this way. I did. They got their own divine assignments, right? We feel called. And when we feel called, it's, do I have the trust, the faith, the guts, the glory, the chutzpah, the balls, whatever you want to call it, right? The tenacity, the resiliency to go after this thing, to create this thing that has been put in my heart to create from the divine. So I felt called to do this. And any time that I have made an investment with money, whether it was with a coach or a program or even a membership, like joining the gym, where I got talked into it, where it was just some really good slick marketing and I felt a bunch of shoulds, right? You know, that buyer's remorse where I can't even tell you the number of courses and things that I've bought because in the moment, because they were really good salespeople. And then afterwards I was like, shit. And you know what? I never fucking opened that 15 module, 5-day challenge, like just didn't even do it. Because I was up in my head in the convinced zone, the intellect, and it wasn't a true, genuine, I felt called to do it. So I want to let these guys talk about what they felt called and how they find themselves here on a podcast with me talking about this shit. So again, feeling called, not convinced. Welcome to the show, everybody. So I'm so excited. I'm big mouth. I'm probably going to let them talk. So I'm just going to have each person go around. Just say your name, your age, not to be ageist, but I think it's important to ground people in concrete, specific details, where you are right now, and maybe what you do for work. And if you have like a job, but then you have a dream that you're like, I want to hear that too, because we're not always, I think Americans especially, you meet them, people always say this, hey, how you doing? Good, how you doing? Where are you from? Oh, I'm from here, da da da. Third question, what do you do? And I'm always like, motherfucker, I do a lot of things. I do a lot of things. I'm not just one thing. Don't try to pick, nobody puts KK in the corner. Don't try to put me in a box. I do a lot of things. Right? But really what we're asking is, because Americans like this, how do you make your money? That's what we want to know. How do you make your money? Right? Because we also usually have an angle. It's like, do I want to know this? Because based on that, it's like, do I want to know this person and what can I get from them? Because we always got some shit going on in the subconscious. But I think it's important that if you have a job that just pays your bills, but you also have this other thing, mention that too. So let's just go youngest to oldest. So Scott, you gotta wait, brother. You gotta wait. All right. So welcome to the show, Dakota.
Hi, I am Dakota Wallace. I am 26 and I am currently transitioning into a nomadic life. So I am in Arizona while going from California to Massachusetts. And my day job is I work for an entrepreneurial couple planning all of their events. And my passion side amazing hustle is I am a certified herbologist and intuitive. So I make spiritual products that help you release the blocks that are coming up in your life. So these are chakra teas and bath salts and fun things that just allow me to be the creative little being I am.
Okay, so let's just clarify. So when you say chakra teas, they're not t-shirts, they're actual herbal teas.
Yes,
right? Okay.
Yes, you drink them, yes.
Okay, so what's your business called?
It's called Daydreamer Apothecary.
And they can find you on TikTok and Instagram and all those places.
TikTok, Instagram, and then my website is dakotawallace.com.
Okay, so we'll circle back to how we found each other, how we came to work together, and we can talk about that. But right now we're just doing, I feel like we're on a panel like the Graham Norton show. We're just going around, everybody's introducing themselves. Okay, Kealoha, Kay, talk to us, hit us up.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kealoha Pomerantz. Everyone calls me Kay since it's quite a mouthful. I just turned 30. I'm in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm originally from California, so I'm transplanted for however long I want to stay in the winters. And my day job is a food service consultant right now. That's how I make my money, which fits into my passion. My calling is food, always has been food. So I'm also currently trying to make a transition into something else, not to work for myself yet, but the ultimate probably is to do so, probably serving food in some capacity at some point to people.
Yes, and you also teach at Boston University.
I do, yes. I teach a course, Advanced Food and Beverage Management, to the master's students this spring. So I got my master's there 3 years ago. That's why I moved here.
Go be you. Go Terriers.
Yeah. Terriers.
Be you alumni. And let's not forget, if you had all the money in the world, what's your real dream job? What would you do?
My real dream job is to have an animal sanctuary and to rescue animals.
I think that's important, right? Because it's like, we do these things for money, you guys, but deep down inside, and that's a question I'll ask you too, Dakota. If you had a shit ton of money and you could just do whatever you want, is there a dream job or something that you would do that you're aware of?
Yeah, there's two. I mean, one, I would love to just travel the world and be the world's best mom. I got to have the world's best mom for 20 years, and I think that's such an important role. The second one is, my mom passed away of cancer when I was in my 20s, and I've always wanted to start a nonprofit for people who have a terminally ill parent who's on a deathbed, and send them off on one last amazing trip with a photographer and a videographer, and just create these memories that they can have.
Okay, don't make me cry, you guys. You guys are gonna make me cry with all your stories. I got the dead mom and the animal thing too. So like both of those, I'm like, yeah, like I'm hearing you loud and clear. And do you see the difference though? This is why it's so important, because I do think one of the things about the nest is it creates a safe place for you to dream and to speak those things out loud, and to say, even though it's not my current reality, maybe yet, I'm holding that vision. And I think that's the power of spiritual community, is that we can hold the vision too. So I think speaking these things into a safe community, because who you share your dreams with and your creative work with, you should be wicked fucking picky, because nothing can crush dreams bigger than the people who are closest to you, who don't have the same capacity for vision and possibility. That's all. I'm not saying anybody in your life is doing that to you. I'm just saying, I just know for a lot of people in general, I can't tell you how many kids got squashed as writers because that one teacher in 3rd grade or 5th grade with the red pen, and they can't hold the capacity. And I did a whole podcast where I talked about this, how like Jesus could not perform miracles in his own town because they did not have the capacity to see him as the Son of God. They just saw him as a fucking lowly carpenter. And I was like, that says something right there. So I think creating a safe container for people to be big. And I don't mean like this whole thing of like, oh, stop playing small. The opposite of small to me is not big necessarily, like on stages. To me, it's about being true. So that's all. I go off in these little mini teaching tangents. I apologize. So you guys are getting a taste of how it is, right? So in the nest, one person will say one simple thing, and then I'm like, ooh, spiritual team comes in and I got stuff to say. Okay, so thank you for indulging. All right, Jodie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my God,
fun to be here. My name is Jodie Gallant, and I live in Guilford, New Hampshire. I am a mom of 3 teenagers, and I've been married 20 years, and we own 5 businesses together. But I make my money as an owner and founder of a marketing agency. And in the last 3 years, I've spun off, and I have begun consulting and coaching women leaders to step into their greatness and like kind of lay down the traditional patterns that we measure ourselves against, so that it blocks us from like really showing up the way that we're supposed to. And through my own journey of kind of walking that myself, which brought me ultimately to the nest, I've been able to use the tools and the resources and help people fast track what's taken me 7 years to figure out in a shorter span, and just kind of hold space and invite them to look at it, like you said, different possibilities, different perspectives, and new permissions. So that's really fun, and I love that. But if I was to say like my, dream is, I'll be honest with you.
Let's say it out. Let's claim it. Let's say it out.
Yeah,
right
well,
now.
I had one, to be honest with you, that I really was honing in on, really building a 7-figure business, and really writing. I have 2 books, a young adult book, and then just another like memoir of like my life story that I feel like could be a lesson to other people, and be a bestseller on the New York Times and like be on the Today Show and Oprah and all the things, right? All of this stuff.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, this morning I journaled and I was like, I've had some really massive shifts in my life over the last 60 days. And I was journaling this morning and I was like, kind of struggling with the fact that my big vision is completely wiped clean. And the only thing that I know is how I want to be, but not what I want to do. And so I'm kind of like, you know, it's funny that you asked that today because I'm kind of now at this first time in my life, I've always had this plan and an action and a to-do and a goal and a big scope of what it was going to look like. And now I'm just like kind of sitting in the first time in my life with a clean slate saying, I don't know, and that's okay, but I know how I want to be and I'm owning that. And that's kind of like, I don't know, a new level of freedom that I'm just literally witnessing this morning. So.
That's amazing. And I think why I love it so much is that's so much what the nest is about. It's not about what you're doing and all the stuff. It's like, who the fuck are you? How are you being in the world? How are you showing up in the world and answering the call of your heart? And I think having the place of the unknown, like I call it being in the hallway, and it's just like, oh my God, there's all these doors. Which door do I open? And we just kind of stand there either paralyzed or pissed, you know? It's like, just tell me what door, spiritual team, just tell me what door to open.
I love that.
Right. So, but I think that why it's beautiful is because you know how we have the 4-step system, right? Your story to your glory. Mm-hmm. Right now we're in that number 1 where we're just kind of tilling the soil and we're getting ready to plant things. And right now it's just raw and ready and nothing, like we haven't picked if it's apple seeds or petunias. It's just like, what are we planting? But right now it's just this preparation. And I think when we show up in that place of humbleness, humility, and surrender, and we say, I don't know how, and this is where as a spiritual mentor I got wicked excited. I'm like, but they do.
And to trust that is like the freedom, right? Learning how to like lean into trust that. That's what I get out of the nest when I'm now going, holy shit, what the fuck am I going to do the rest of my life? I get to start from scratch. What does that look like?
Yeah. And I think it's also pretty amazing. And tell people the name of your marketing business in case they want to reach out to you.
JMG Marketing. So you can find me at jodiegallant.com for like coaching and leadership, or jmg-marketing.com for our agency work, our design work, our website, our strategy, all the stuff an agency does. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. No, you guys are doing me a favor by being here. So I want to give you a little plug. All right. Thank you, Jodie. Okay. Scott.
Hi, being fit, it's amazing. If you want to know what the nest is, you just are experiencing it right now. See, right now you're experiencing what we do in the nest. You heard all these ideas, you heard everyone share, and so completely different, especially Jodie's story, which I'm here thinking like, I can't answer some of these questions right now, but I know that's why I joined. For example, so I'm 53 years old. We talked about the used car guy. I was a former car guy. I say former because I really don't believe I'm going back into that, but there's always an opening, right? But I don't think so. I grew up in the car business for like 30 years. And then on September 16th of last year, I decided to resign from that position without knowing what I was going to do. A little bit scary. I'm not going to lie about that. A little scary. And then I'm out there walking around in my yard and my friend Karen calls me and she says, hey, Scott, my spiritual team spoke to me. I go, okay, here she goes again. I love this girl with her spiritual team stuff, right? Don't know too much about the spiritual team aspect yet, but she's always talking about it. I know she talks about it. I let her talk. She's beautiful. And she's a lot of times mostly right. Not all the time, but mostly right all the time. Right? So then she goes, hey, I got an idea. I want you to know, do you want to speak on my podcast? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like I'm a motivational trainer, car guy. I've taught, I'm a teacher.
Well, wait. I want to interrupt you. This is when I asked you to come be in the nest, not the podcast, right?
The nest. You're right.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. See how she was right there again. Right.
So wait, let me, So spiritual team on the job, all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, call Scott. Ask Scott. I know Scott, like we know each other, but I'm like, who's going to be my guest teacher in the nest this month? And they literally, I always say my spiritual team, it's not like I hear voices, right? It's not like I have heard voices in the past, but mostly it's like word impressions. That's the only, as a writer, that's the only thing I know how to say it. It's a word impression. The words will just be there and I open my big mouth. But I said, who should I call? And I hear Scott Reiner. I was like, okay. So I call Scott and continue. Yes, go ahead.
So she calls me and I say, sure. And then, now I'm not afraid to speak. I've spoken in front of, hundreds and up to like 300, 400 people. And I don't mind sharing this. I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict, 15 years of recovery. So, part of your program is that you kind of always go out and share your experience. You go to other meetings and share your stories. Sometimes there's 5 people, sometimes there's 100, sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 1. And at 1, you still have a meeting, right? So anyways, at 53 years old, I have 6 beautiful children, 2 sets of twins. All the twins are boys, a beautiful daughter that's 31, a son that's like 36 years old. I have 2 former wives and a current wife. My current wife loves me. My second wife likes me a lot. My first wife, I'm not so sure of. However, that would be why the recovery part. Remember the 15 years of recovery? Right, there you go. So why I joined the Nest is...
I haven't even asked that question yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm just trying to find out about you. Who are you?
Okay, and then me. So like job. So currently I'm unemployed. That's because of the resigning on September 16th. And again, I've only known the car business for 30 years, but I have all the experience. I mean, my resume is massively long, right? It's got everything under there. Managing millions of dollars in cars and budgets and training and hiring, firing, disc profiles. I mean, it can go on. And like people call me still, I do consulting, but I don't get paid. Everything I do is free right now. By the way, my wife doesn't like that part. So anyways, so I don't know what I'm doing next at 53. I believe I'll be a business development director for someone to start off. And if you ask me what I would do, if I had all the money, there's so many things that ring through my mind. When I think about I think about children who don't have, I have a penchant for young kids who don't have families or come up from abusive families, drug addiction and all that
Scott,
stuff.
stop banging your pen. I can hear you. Are you whacking your pen against your hand? Thank you. All right.
Bossing me around again. That's
I
why I
know.
put my hand like
Well,
this.
no, it's just making a clicking sound in the background.
Right?
I'm
I
thinking
love
of
her.
the listeners. I'm thinking of the listeners.
Thank you
Go
for
ahead.
giving. Thank you. And
You're
so I think it would be like has to do with a children in recovery, and you miss so much from those young ages. Those kids don't get a lot of stuff, and when they come from addiction, it's sometimes the curse has to be broken a lot sooner than waiting till 20. And when we wait till 20, man, it just creates a lot of problems based on my own experience. And so that's right now. So, but I'm joining the Nest, and the reason I love the Nest is because I hear all the stories, and those stories are amazing. And although there's a lot of women, much more than men in there, the men are missing the ingredient because they're afraid. We're taught that we're macho and tough. Well, you're macho and tough when you're in the nest, and you can stay with the girls and keep up and allow your emotions to come out and experience what you need to do. That's what makes you more powerful as a man, is to be able to connect to the emotional parts. By the way, all the greatest leaders in the world were very spiritual. I mean, we can make the list. Start from Jesus, Gandhi, Buddha, all of them, right? So that's what I got.
Scott, I love you, brother. And and I believe too that that you're in a place, you're in the hallway right now, right?
Yeah.
You're literally in the hallway, unemployed. But we have these possible things, which,
Yes.
I'm not gonna, put your information out there, but I have always felt like there's a reason why. So so in the Nest, there's these 12 monthly modules, right? And the module that you came in and spoke on, I think, was Stinking Thinking and Feeling Unlovable. Stinking Thinking and Feeling Unlovable. And I know because you have a big mouth, kind of like me. And I'm like, oh, Scott's going to have stuff to say. I had no idea. I've never heard Scott speak other than in conversation with me, but I just trusted it. I just trusted what the team came in hot. I was like, okay. And you came in and you talked. And I think part of your gift when you talk, and I think it's the beauty of you being in recovery first, is that all that fearless moral inventory, all that shame, there's this thing, I think, in the movie 8 Mile with, you guys know, with the rapper Eminem. And in the final battle scene, like a battle, right, where he's on stage and they're going to do a rap battle. And there's this powerful moment when he says first everything that the other guy could say to make fun of him or tear him down. It's like he takes a fearless moral inventory on that stage, right? He's like, I'm a bum. I live in a trailer with my mom, right? And he's like, he does the whole thing. And then the other guy has nothing to say, because when you're doing a rap battle, it's kind of like playing the dozens, which is like you just come for each other. So what I think is beautiful is you show up, I think, because of that mining and the work that you did with the 12 steps. And, you know, I know you have a rich spiritual background, how you grew up, all these things. And, you know, that allows you to just speak honestly, with humility, with humor. And so I just knew, I was like, they're going to get something from this. And that's the reason too, while I chose each of you to be here. I mean, there's like 56, whatever people in the nest. And it's not that I don't love all of them. I just couldn't have all of you on the show. But I've worked closely with each of you, and I know you really well. And I just knew that you're all so diverse. But what you all have is generous hearts. What you all have is curiosity and creativity. What you all have is a desire to not only better yourselves, but better the world around you. And so you guys kind of represent, like, for me, the nest isn't just about, well, come into the nest and we'll just focus on you, and make you better. It's like, no, I want you guys to take, and I don't mean go out and start your own memberships and create nests. What I'm saying is you come into the nest, you find your safe place, you get your shit together, you own your brilliance and your bullshit, so you can then go out into the world and create a little nest where kids with addicted parents, we start that shit now rather than dealing with it. And right. And so often, to this point, people will say to me, you know, because they always want you to say, you have to name who you work with, right? That's the client avatar. It's like, okay, I work with women between 25 and 60. I'm like, nope, I work with people, men and women, right? I work with people. Everybody is welcome here, because all I know is as soon as you are in a body, you are going to suffer. We look at the timeline, born, right? Death. We already know it doesn't end well for us. So it's like born, die, bunch of hard shit in between. But wouldn't it be nice to have some people who, like you guys, want to change themselves, want to change the world? Because this is what we know. If you want to change the world, first you got to change your own damn self. So being able to create a nest, like the main place where all the peacocks come to heal their broken wings, to heal their feathers. I know where I was going with that point, and I'm back. So here's the whole thing. People will often ask me about, who do you work with? And they always say to me, do you work with kids? I really think kids, people are always asking me to start a program for teenagers and kids. And I'm like, let me tell you something. It seems like I work with adults, grown-ass adults, but what I'm really working with is wounded children in adult bodies.
So true.
So that's
Raising my hand. Right here.
I got double hands.
Dakota's like, I'm 20, cut me some slack, right? Dakota's like, I'm still a baby.
There's still a sad little person in here sometimes.
Yes. All right. So here's what I want to do. I just want to ask you guys, this is kind of like, I have no idea. So listeners at home, I feel like I'm on a game show because I have no idea what's about to come out of their mouths. I don't even know if they're going to be able to describe it, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay. So each of you, I want each of you to take a moment to answer this question when I call on you. How would you describe the work that I do as a spiritual mentor? Like, if you had to tell a friend, spiritual mentoring, yeah, that's what this is. I would love to just hear your take on it, because here's my sneaking suspicion. I don't think that this work can be put into a nice, neat little box where people will often say, because here's the deal. And Jodie, please correct me because you're the marketing expert. But what I feel is you're supposed to be able to speak to a very specific outcome, like very tangible result. Like, you come to work with me and you'll get more clients, or you come to work with me and you'll make more money. You come to work with me and you'll up level your whatever. I think the work that I do, it's really hard to quantify or like say this exact result. I do have a process, the 4-step system of your story to your glory, but everybody's glory is going to look a little different. I think there's some key elements there where they feel more connected to themselves, to source, to spirit. So we lay this holy foundation, this holy ground in which they can move through the world, right? With more fun and more flow and more freedom. They can move through the world with more calm and confidence or whatever. But as you all heard, what does your dream look like? Who do you want to be? Everybody had a different answer. And everybody comes to me. If I quiz everybody and say, why did you come to work with me, which we're going to do, you're going to hear something probably a little different. But I think at the heartbeat of it all, we want to go home to the truth of ourselves, you know, and there's way more to this. But okay, so Dakota, let's go in reverse. Scott, because I already picked. Scott, what do you think? And there's no right or wrong here. This is just having fun and getting real. So what do you think I do for work? You've seen me in doing this stuff, spiritual work. What do you think I do? How would you describe it?
I would describe your work as helping people solve problems from where they're at. I mean, because everyone that comes to you has a different belief, or some have the same, but lots of people have different. If we took all your people in the nest and we asked them their interpretation of God, there would be multiple different ways. But your solution is to meet them where they're at, to get them to understand. At least that's how I've experienced you. Is I'm at one place, and you open it up with questions about, well, how about if we could see it like this? How do you see it like that? So if I was describing you to my friends, I would say she helps me get clearer thoughts of where I'm at now and opens up my future to other possibilities.
You guys are going to make me cry.
That's what you do. That's what you do for me. That's what you do for me.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. And I think what I loved about what you said is that's the thing too. I lead with the word spiritual. People say to me, are you a life coach? I say, no, but your life will get better. Are you a business coach? No. But if you get clear, your business will improve, right? I lead with the word spiritual because I don't want them to come into the group and then be fucking horrified or shocked when I'm throwing the word God around, or source, or Holy Spirit, or the divine, or whatever. Because a lot of people like those really safe secular words like universe and intuition. And I'm like, there are people in the nest who are like, I don't even know if I still believe in God, but I want to. There are people who come from, like, you came from kind of a holy roller background, right? There are Catholic people. There are people who are yogis. Like, there's no requirement other than, like, if you even look on my website in the frequently asked questions, like if you go to KarenKenney.com/nest, it says, who is it not for? And I'm like, you know, this is not therapy. This is not for people who want to bitch and moan and stay stuck in their story. This is for people who want to da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, you know, in A Course in Miracles, it even says the teachers of God, they come from all religion and no religion. And that's how I feel. Those of us who are trying to step into the role, and I think we all have been given this assignment as the light of the world, the love of the world, the representation of love on earth, right? That to me is the kingdom of God on earth, is that we're showing up in that way. But I lead with the word spiritual because I don't want people to be surprised or confused, because again, just like if I had a projector on the top of my head, it's like the divine, like I see everything through the spiritual lens. And so I love that you brought up that point that everybody is welcome here. Everybody, whatever background, spiritual, tradition, otherwise, everybody is welcome here to have this conversation. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for your kind words. Jodie.
Oh, well, it's funny you said to me a practical and tangible result, because that's what I think you give. As a spiritual mentor, I feel like you literally give us the tools and the space and the guidance or the support, or you call the bullshit, that allows us to peel the onion layers off of our lives to get to the core of who we are. And you do it with, you know, just like a real honest style. And that's what, for me, I've loved the most, because I don't like to, you know, pussyfoot around, like get to the fucking point, right? And so you do that. And so it's like, okay, I can actually move faster in my life and be a better version of me much quicker through the tools and the guidance and the question that you challenge, that you present, that you provide, that you teach, that resonates in like a real practical, tangible way the minute you hear it. You're like, there might be pieces of it that I'm like, I gotta like percolate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
That might come to me, but there's also a piece of it that's like, yeah, Jodie, it's like, call your own bullshit and like get out of your own fucking way. And so you invite that in to us. And so I just feel like as a spiritual mentor, you do that, but it's from such a place of love and understanding, and it's so relatable that I get to become a better version of me, which allows me, which I now know. I used to think I used to have to do to earn love. And now I have learned that and really mostly this past year working with you and in the nest, learn that I can just be and own who I am as a bee. And then all the people around me actually get more out of me than the history of my life that I learned at 12 after my dad died, that I had to do to be seen.
I was just about to, I was going to ask you about, I was going to bring up your dad in relation to what you were saying. So I'm so glad you asked. So continue. Thank you.
Yeah. I just feel like I learned at 12 to survive, to be seen by my mom, to be seen by my siblings, to be seen. And I've carried that with me my whole life. I put myself at the bottom of the list. And through just my understanding and my own personal development. And then finally, like when I was 36, I was like, what the fuck is my life? Like, how did I get here? And that was when I started kind of like really navigating, paying attention to who I am for the first time and kind of evaluating it from a higher perspective. But it was in this last year working with you specifically, with the way you show up with the tools and the modules and the conversations and just the reality of it in such a fresh way that I actually feel like I've reconnected to God in a way that I never had before, and I get to be. So I just feel like, that was 32 years of unraveling the doing that I learned and taught myself to and embraced because it had purpose.
Those are survival mechanisms, though.
Yeah.
I can speak as another person who lost a parent at 12. That tipping point, especially for girls in that age where you move from being, for me, I was a wicked tomboy, but you're moving from that because everything's changing. Your chemistry is changing. Your hormones are changing. A lot of girls start getting their period around that time. So we're becoming like this whole new thing. And then one of the main stabilizers or whatever in your life, a parent, is gone. And the stories that we tell ourselves about that, the abandonment story, why did you leave? Like, we don't even know we're doing it. Our brains don't even fully get done forming till we're 25. And I love,
can I just interrupt? The whole abandonment thing is like so massive because that literally this last year is the biggest lesson. The surrender, I got that. I finally got that. I get it. That took a long time. But the abandonment after the surrender came forcefully in my face that, oh, I thought I was being abandoned by everybody else. I was actually abandoning myself.
Amen.
And so like through the nest and the journey and the tools and the resources, I'm feeling like I have a new foundation of like a rebirth, as corny as that might sound.
It's not corny because I'm watching it. I'm watching it.
I know you are.
Yes.
Walking right beside me. And I literally feel like I have a new foundation where I don't have to abandon myself any longer. That comes from.
Yes. Thank you.
That literally came.
That one just gave me a hot squishy. My whole heart is squished up. It's like, because I think we all do that. I mean, I think that's one of the things, that's part of what my memoir was about, is we spend this whole time running around trying to fit in, right? We want to belong. Like, it is. So look at this book. This is a great book, by the way. Tokapa Turner. It's called Belonging. This is an amazing book. And I'm holding it up because that's all we all really want to do, is we want to belong. And what happens is in a desire to often fit into groups, family structures, family patterns, whatever, to be loved, to think I need to do this or keep the secret or go along with or whatever, or we just become numb or we go dead inside, whatever the thing is, in order to belong. And we feel like, oh, everybody's going to abandon me, da, 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 da. But we don't realize that in that desire to try to fit in, square peg, round hole, we abandon ourselves. And we do it again. We do it in marriages. We do it in friendships. We do it in business. We do it with your kids. You do it with just like overdoing, like the people pleasing and the Cirque du Soleil, I'll be whatever they want me to be. And then you're like, who the fuck are you? You know how many times
The
I'll say to my
fixer,
clients, who are you?
right?
And they're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't recognize myself. And it's like, okay, let's
I used to like laugh, and like if you watched actually the Scandal, Olivia Pope was like the fixer on that show, and I used to be like, that's me. And now I'm like, oh, I only have to fix me. I don't have to fix everybody else. My job just got easier.
Well, right. And let's talk about that. Why do you think, this isn't a quiz, anybody can answer. Well, it is kind of a quiz, but not really. It's like a game show. Why do you think it is that we try to fix everybody else? There's multiple answers here, but which one do you guys think, just to make it fun?
Because it's a hell of a lot easier than looking yourself in the mirror.
Ding, 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 ding.
Hello.
Vanna White turned the A. She just got the A. Okay, that's one answer. Thank you, Kay. Kay's my Vanna White. Thank you so much. What else? What's another reason why we might want to control other people? Fix, quote unquote. Controlling also equals fixing, also equals helping.
Makes us feel better. It makes our ego feel better that we can focus on doing that, and gives us some worth.
Okay, ding, 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 ding. Another correct answer. Vanna, you can turn that dial. All right. Anybody else have one off the top of the head? Or because I can always chime in, because I already have my answers up in my head, right? But yeah, so first of all, it does exactly what you two are saying. But the other thing it does is that it helps us to regulate our own nervous system so that we feel safe. So if you can just get your shit together, then I can relax and be happy. So we keep waiting for the external things to get better. And if they're not hurrying up and getting better, we can't handle the tension and the discomfort. So we're like, I'll be happy when he stops drinking. I'll be happy when they stop being fill in the blank. I'll be happy if my parents could have just been
all the things.
Right. But the beautiful thing is in spiritual mentoring is we recognize that the only place that it gets solved and healed, I'm tapping my chest, it's right here. Thank God. Thank God. I remember how pissed off I got the first time when I read A Return to Love, Mary Williamson. And basically what was coming to me through the wisdom of Marianne and A Course in Miracles and Jesus was laying it down for KK and saying, hey, you are responsible for your own happiness and your own peace. You are responsible for your own suffering. I'm not talking about physical things that people do to us, right? Like I'm talking about shit has happened. Now what kind of pie do I want to bake with these ingredients? Because I can bake a shit pie with shit sprinkles and extra shit cherries, or I can bake something else. Right. And I always say, like, what we try to do is fix the people around us. So it's like, oh, well, I'll serve the shit sandwich, but put a pickle on the side. And it's like, it's still a shit sandwich. Even though you're trying to dress it up, we got to change the sandwich, right? We got to change what we're serving. So it's like, I think I was mad because it was easier to blame other people for my unhappiness. It was easier to blame my history and my trauma and the dead murdered mother and all the things that had happened to me that were out of my control. And the work that I do is I call it sometimes moving from the why to the what. We move from like, why did this happen to me and why it wasn't fair and why God and why whoever and why. And it's like when we're able to, and of course that's wicked normal when the tragedy and the trauma first happens. Like let's be clear. But with some time, some breath, some breathing room, the question must or will, and I'd only say must because if we don't, we'll keep suffering. So do it or don't do it. You get to choose. But if we want to heal, we must start to look at what was there to teach me. Why there was something here. What was this trying to teach me, show me? What was here for me to learn? What was the lesson or the blessing or the awareness or the aha? Right? What was this revealing to me? What was the thing that was trying to come out of the darkness into the light for healing? And that's really what all of this is about. So thank you. I could reminisce. Okay. Kealoha, tell me your thoughts on what do you think it is that I do as a spiritual mentor? Can I just wait? I know I'm being rude. Listeners at home. I want to be really clear. This is not me looking for an ego stroke. This is, I want you guys to understand through the eyes of other people, because you might recognize yourself in some of what they're saying. That's what I'm hoping for, not because I need a stroke on the head. That's not it. I just want to be clear, because it sounds like, okay, now tell me why you think I'm so wonderful. No, that's not what this says. So, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I have to share one more thing. I just want you to know that one other thing that you really do really well for us is you help us take swear words and put them into very good spiritual sentences that make it look so beautiful. And I love that about the nest. So important.
Well, I will say that the last
That's
time,
a joke.
thank you, honey. The last
That's
time
a
I
joke.
spoke on a big stage in public,
Yeah.
a woman came up to me in tears, just crying. And
Huh.
she said, I haven't prayed to God in over 10 years. People come up to me usually, and like, I hear all kind of stories about murder and awful, awful things. And I just try to love them and hold the space as they're saying it out loud, maybe for the first time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come up to me and say, I've abandoned God. Like, I've abandoned that relationship. I moved away, whether it was because of the childhood upbringing, it being crammed down their throats, them being, LGBTQI, where they didn't feel like they were allowed there or welcome there, like 1,000 reasons and stories. But this one woman came up to me, to your point, and said, I haven't prayed to God in 10 years. And she was sobbing because she says, I miss him and I want to start praying again. And what happened to me watching you on stage and hearing your potty mouth and your Boston accent, because she was a She was a kid from Massachusetts. She was a woman, but we're all kids. And she said, I didn't know that I could swear and just be myself and still have a relationship with God.
Amen to that.
So thank you for bringing up that point. I appreciate that. Okay.
I mean, not only just have a relationship, I feel like lately, and it is a lot of women, like it's hard to have a relationship with most people if you sound like you do, right? A lot of people just automatically reject that. So that was very attractive for me as well, like just to be able to be, not that swearing is everyone's self, but if that is yourself and you find it natural like that, I don't know, that was very eye-opening.
I have the worst fucker mouth too. I'm like, KK, I was like, she is going to be my friend.
Exactly, right? She's a business.
Wait, so there's a guy that Scott and I both love, and you guys might know of him online, called The Naked Pasta. And he does these amazing drawings. He's all about helping people heal from the wounds of being in the church and that dogma. And he has this one cartoon that I love, and it's two women walking down the street, just casually, and one woman turns to the other one. And she says, "What's your spiritual gift?" And she says, "Swearing." I can't tell you how many people have sent me that over the years. So yeah, it always makes me laugh. So sorry, Kay. I'll shut up now. Continue.
No, I was just going to say, I heard you say this, I don't, about someone else, or sort of like your relationship to someone else, one of your clients, and you said you were a spiritual godmother. And that really stuck with me, that I don't know that I would necessarily tell, I don't know that I would use that if that wouldn't resonate with someone, but it very much resonated with how I feel about you. I worked one-on-one with you and I'm in the nest. And I just needed a parent figure. And so I'm trying to become that for myself, but that's a process that at 30 is going to take a while.
I'm still parenting myself at 52. I'm still figuring that out too, because there's lots of ways to feel unparented. Like some kids were forced to be parents to their parents when they're little. Some kids lost a parent. Right? Some of us were in homes where both parents, their physical bodies were there, but I always say lights on, nobody's home, right? We could not, and sometimes because of trauma, our nervous systems can't receive, even if there was love there, we can't take it in because it feels overwhelming. And as I'm learning more and more and more about trauma, it's like we were always as little kids trying to regulate our nervous systems to the people around us. So our needs, our wants often not only didn't get met, they didn't fucking matter. So we were just trying to like survive and like figure stuff out. And even kids who have really happy childhoods and have parents who are still together, all it took is one kid to call you fat or weird or to bully you or whatever. We all have trauma, what we think it looks like, because trauma is not just what happened, it's what didn't happen that should have happened. Right. Like the love you should have gotten, the support you should have gotten, like whatever. So I really resonate with what you're saying. And it's also something like, and when I talk to, and I just want to mention it now so we don't forget, Like Dakota is like one of my spiritual daughters. I don't have human children. That's just read the memoir. Read the memoir. But I do. I always say there's 1,000 ways to mother. Just like Scott has 6 kids, right? And he talks about like wanting to go out and mentor these younger kids for recovery and blah, blah, blah. That's a fathering instinct. That is an instinct to care and to that's why the imagery of the nest, I always think of the mother bird feeding the babies, right? So there's 1,000 ways to mother. And this is one of the ways that my maternal instincts get to do it. It's why I have so many furry kids, but it's why I end up having spiritual daughters. Like I consider you one of my spiritual daughters. You know, this is the first time I'm announcing it to you, but it's like, yeah, like Josie, she's one of my spiritual kids, you know? And so I appreciate that so much because I want you guys to feel the depth of my love. I want you to feel that I actually really care about you. You're not some number in a program to me. I'm not just trying to look at for $59 a month. I'm putting out a lot, right? Like, it's not that I'm just like, some of you came in as founding members at $49 a month, right? So fuck, dude. So what I'm trying to say is like, I'm happy that you can feel that. And that you're receiving it. And that I also want to say, it's not a codependent relationship. It's not creepy like that. It's like, I'm trying to be like, I always say like mother cows, like you ever see when a dog or a cow, like they're done suckling, like they're done breastfeeding and they're like, get off the teat. Like they push the little puppy, they're like done. My thing is not to create some weird codependent thing. I want to get you to a place where you can fly out of the nest, but know that you can always come back. That's the beauty of having it be ongoing, is that it's not like you have to be on every single call or you miss out. It's like you get to fly around, but you know it's there. So anyways, I keep interrupting you, Kay. You inspired me to go on that tangent. Go ahead. Finish.
No, I mean that's all very true. And I think absolutely it is that. That's why I don't know, even godmother, like I have a living mother, you know, she feels adopted to me, but like, so it felt like a good, you know, sort of someone who's both coach and, you know, mother figure. But also I think what Jodie was saying too, like that practicality. I'm a type A, like just very high functioning person. So I was in therapy. It just was, everyone always said, well, nothing's wrong with you. And so I think like even our first conversation, it was like, oh, there's some shit. There's so much to learn here through books, through the guest teachers, through the other people's stories, that if I don't have some sort of like checklist or proof or, you know, like I'm not going to resonate. So that to me was, you weren't trying to sell anything. That was just your process. And it happened to land very much for me. Like, okay, there's a program, there's modules, like I can do this. It felt not just like sort of woo woo.
Yeah, Kay is very much so that one of the journeys for you has been moving from your head to your heart, getting out of your head, because a lot of it, Jodie's shaking her head, she knows. Mm-hmm. It's like you live from the neck up, right up into the intellect. A lot of the people that I work with are wicked smart, but too smart for your own good. Mm-hmm. Because you can go right into the explaining and the rationalizing. Like Dakota, used to say, Dakota, can you please stop coaching yourself so I can coach you? Because she would say like an emotion and then she'd be like, you know, but as I'm like, Dakota, because, and I'm not, her too. Whenever my clients say to me, they're about to reveal something or say something to me and they're like, and I already know that you're probably going to say, I go, don't tell me what I'm going to say. Let me have my own experience. And if you're a writer, listen to this. You got to let your readers have their own experience. But if you're in relationship to anybody too, don't make assumptions about how you think the other one's going to react, because you won't speak your truth if you're afraid that the reaction won't be palatable, won't be liked, right? So you'll start to edit yourself. So, where was I going with that? Wait, what did you say? This is also part of the nest. This is me.
Living from the head up.
Yes, yes. So, you know, one of Kay's things is she goes right up into the intellect and the head. Like, I want a checklist. She's very type A. She's very smart. And a lot of that smartness, right? And we can all raise our hands to this. It makes us, technically, we all do it. Some of us worse than others, but we become judging machines. The mind is constantly searching. It's also, you know, your nervous system is searching for cues of safety. And then we attack and judge. That's what the ego does. The ego loves to separate and make special. So we're constantly scanning and we're judging everything. And what happens is we end up kind of disconnecting ourselves from our own love. So one of Kay's things, I always had to be like, let's come into the body. Like, how are we feeling? Like, let's get out of the checklist and I'm doing a good job and I can just check the box and whatever. And it's been remarkable. It was remarkable watching you transform. It has really been something. You smiled. Like one of the first things she said is, I smile more now.
She's always smiling. She's always smiling. Every time I see
I was not always smiling.
Every time I've seen you so far.
I know.
Yeah, but
it was fast.
When I first met you, there was kind of this, I mean, please interrupt me. I'm not saying anything mean, but there was kind of like this flatness, like this, the switch was off.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's why I came. I mean, that was really and yeah, again, I think I had just already had experiences of people saying like, well, you look fine. I mean, you're not saying like nothing's wrong with you. Everything.
I think that I'm going to interrupt you because I think that there's this whole perception that sometimes frustrates me. It frustrates me as a parent too, that we're high performing individuals that are intellectual and smart and we have our shit together and we can perform, but that doesn't make us not human.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get overlooked, and it's like the strong people don't get the support they need.
I always
like,
say to people, check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends.
So like as a strong person who has my whole life, and Kate sounds like you as well, coming into the nest and going, yes, I am strong. Yeah, I do have my shit together. Yes, I am high performing. Yes, I am a success. But I'm a little bit damaged and I'm a little bit broken and I'm a little bit sad and I'm fucking mad and I'm a little this at the same time. And then the nest kind of says, okay, we'll hold you here and we'll give you some tools and we're all in this together. So it's like, then you have this new permission of, oh, I can actually be me. I can smile more. I can laugh more. Because that was one of the things I never did, was I was always so serious.
So serious.
Yes.
So serious. And now I'm like, fuck it.
Shuck it.
I got dishes in the sink. I got laundry piles everywhere. My house is like total chaos. My car's a mess. And it's like, it's fine. And it's okay.
And it is, because all of that perfection and touch of the OCD-ness, right? All that tidying and neatness, it's because we don't feel safe inside. So we try to control the external environment. And so one of the things, and I swear to God, I said this to my sweetie, I said, I think I liked it when I was more anxious because I had less stuff on the floor. Because I'm in the middle of trying to figure out, like, because I take all my notes are always like by hand. I'm not a fast typer, so I don't type. So I end up with like scraps of, like, I have fucking notes everywhere, right? And I'm always just like, what? But before, I once had a guy in California come into my house. I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment by myself. And that's a whole story for another day. And this guy from the gym came over my house and he's like, can I just use your bathroom real quick? I lived like behind the gym. And he came out and he said to me, it's the first time somebody ever said to me, do you know what OCD is? And I said, what? What are you talking about? He goes, there is not a single pubic hair, like he lifted the lid. And he's like, there's no dust, there's like nothing in this, like you are so neat. And I kind of started chuckling. And then I was like, what's OCD, right? Like, what is that? And then I looked back at these patterns I developed trying to feel safe. Just trying to control my environment because I was so terrified. But
see, there's another thing I just learned, Karen.
Oh.
I just learned that. See, that's why you joined the nest again. I'm going to re-emphasize the people watching. I've been on the nest a while, and then the OCD thing, I knew what that was, but I didn't know so much about why I always like when I'm anxious, why I come in my house and I want everything to get I want the bed to be made.
Yep.
I want no dishes in the sink. I can't go to sleep. I can now. But I didn't know why I did that, because when it's all neat and orderly, I feel like I can relax better than if it's all messy. And it goes way back to the protection of when
it's an outward reflection of an inward condition. We're trying to control the external picture, thinking that's where it gets fixed. But the vibration inside is, oh my God, 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 oh my God. So my sweetie will say, like, I'll come downstairs to, like, let's say refill my water bottle. And then I'll start all of a sudden cleaning the fucking, you know, like we have a gas stove. So, you know, the things, the pans,
Yeah.
the burners.
Of
All of a
course.
sudden there's a sponge in my hand. And then I pull out the vacuum cleaner. And then I'll be like, oh, Binky needs my bunny. I'm like, Binky needs, I got to go to the store. And I start writing a note for the group. And he'll always just look up and go, so sweetie, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. It's just a lot. Like, you know, as an entrepreneur, sweetie, like I'm a solopreneur and like I'm fucking marketing and I got to do this lot, you know, and that's what it's about. Like as soon as all the dog food and the cat food, right? We order it from chewy.com, you guys. It's so helpful. So we get, you know, we have 6 animals. They got fucking buckets of food, right? Like they come to my house. As soon as I open up each, you know, 12 pack of the canned food, I open it up and I cannot walk away. I've tried it. I test myself. I walk away and I'm like, fuck. And I come back and I have to turn all the labels out so the little dog faces are facing forward.
Oh, wow.
I let myself get away.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no. All the labels in my house, I face them forward. But it's not like it takes a lot of my time because I'm fast because I've been doing it for fucking 35 years, right? I go bing, 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 done. But like I just like even this, my little carousel. I love that each thing has its own section. Oh my God. Like, are you kidding me? I like things to be neat because it helps me, but I've gotten, the more I've relaxed, the more I've healed. If you came into my house, you'd still be like, wow, 6 animals live here. It's neat, but it's not compulsive anymore. But what I realize is that obsessive compulsive disorder, it also shows up like, but I didn't trust myself because I didn't trust people because the world was not fucking safe.
Amen to that. Yeah. Not safe.
So it shows up in the job of a good mentor is to be able to stand back with some witness consciousness. My greatest job is to just pay attention. You know, the writer Henry James says, try to be the kind of person upon whom nothing is lost. So when I'm talking to people, we're in the nest and I say something, I'm watching who reacts, who does this, like a dog hearing something, who gets quiet, who's fucking on their phone distracted, right? I'm always watching body language and I'm always watching, right? And like, so my job is to just be curious, to ask really good questions, to reflect back what I think I'm seeing. And when it's necessary, back to the point of Jodie, a lot of people say they want to come work with me because I'm going to call them on their bullshit and I'm going to hold them accountable. And they know I won't let them get away with their shit. And they're not afraid. I'm not afraid to fucking say it straight. And I'm a straight shooter. And yes, and I try to do it. I think I can get away with it because the people trust me and they know anything I'm saying, I think is because they know I'm saying it out of love because I'm trying to interrupt the pattern. I remember one time driving behind a car with, and I love border collies. My dog, Abby, that's a whole story for another day. She was beloved to me. I had her for 14 years. And I saw this border collie in the back of a car and it was just spinning and spinning and spinning and chasing its tail. And I see people post videos of animals all the time doing these behaviors and people are like, oh my God, it's so cute. He's chasing his tail. I'm like, no, that is a neurotic dog with a neurological issue and he's suffering. I see the same patterns in humans. We're often chasing our own tails and we're replaying these stories and we're digging into the past. And it's like I'm doing a whole podcast about this. We try to go back to the scene of the crime to heal where it happened. But that's not where healing happens in the past. It happens in the present moment. So my job is to create a safe enough container where people can fully, as you said, just be themselves so that we're not hiding. Because one of the things about being a spiritual mentor is people try to be wicked fucking spiritual in front of me all the time. They try to say the right thing. They try to say what would be the spiritual answer. I'm like, I don't want the performer, the pretender, the one who's like doing their social media fucking performance right now. That's not interesting to me. Tell me what the fuck is going on so I can actually be helpful. So I can help
Karen,
you to help you help yourself.
But you don't always do that. So here's the thing. You don't always, that label I think is, while you're known to speak the truth and you do the thing and tell you to get off the thing, I've experienced the other part too. When I've been walking in the woods and I'm all beating myself up and I think I can't figure out how to get out of my fucking problem, which if anybody else called me with the same problem I was having, I probably would have the answer, but I couldn't figure it out. And I thought you were going to give me, honestly, I'll call KK, you were going to give me like the kick in the ass and the boost. And you know what? That didn't happen. You gave me the mother thing, like the grip around, the hug that says, hey, Scott, why don't you take it easy on yourself? Fucking 15 years with a company, you're now you're basically broken up with them in 6 months and you want to be all healed. Well, I think that's a little too much pressure. And I thought, yeah, I gotta go, be a little tougher. And you were like, oh, basically like the, for lack of better words, the non-touching shoulder massage. You know what I mean?
Thank you for, well, that was the point I was trying to make, is I think people think of me in one particular way. In fact, the podcast that came out with Andre, where I was crying on it, a few people were commenting, it's so nice to see KK this way. And I'm like, oh, I really like it when KK cries. Like, I really like it when I get all mushy, But that's the whole point though. That tough love, quote unquote, tough love, it comes from a place of deep compassion, which is I see your suffering. And my work has also been for myself is to extend more. It's way easier for me to extend compassion to other people than it has been naturally to do it for myself. So the more I do it with my clients and with my friends or with people in the nest, the more that muscle grows from me too. So poor Dakota's been sitting over there. I want to let Dakota talk. So thank you, Scott, for that, because that's the other heartbeat of it, right? It's this balance. It's that balance of tenderness and let's get your ass in gear. Let's go. Right. Okay. Hi, Dakota. Do you remember the question? What do you think that I do as a spiritual mentor?
Don't worry, I took my notes.
Okay.
It's actually so funny. What I was going to say really just played into what you guys were talking about, is I feel like you hold us in such a place of unconditional love until we are able to come home to ourselves and love ourselves again. I really was resonating with what Jodie was saying. And part of my story is I was in abusive relationships. I had sexual trauma as a child, and I thought it was my fault. And I hated myself because I thought I let those things happen to me. And by having you love me so much, I was like, oh, I'm not broken. I'm not unworthy of love. And I then was able to remember who I was. And I grew up with an atheist as a father, and God makes that, like, how could God let things happen to the world? So God was always this dirty word in our family.
And then your mother got cancer.
Yeah. And like, well, no, God would kill my mom off, and you just the way the first time I heard you talk about God, I was like, no, there is something more. And I want to get to know who this is. And you let us create our version, whatever feels safe, whatever this unconditional love, if it's the universal, whatever it is. And you help us just come back to who we are and give us that tool belt so that we can not inflict ourselves on the world, but instead help it and show up in unconditional love for others.
See, this is why I can't, are you all seeing why I can't just have one succinct marketing message? This is why this show is so helpful, because I can't, and it's why good marketers know to just let your clients tell their stories. Like, what are the success stories? Like, what happens? And we've already been on for like almost 90 minutes. So I don't want to, I have a call at 1. I want to, so thank you so much, Dakota, because it's also been amazing. Because I first met you at one of my retreats. And
no, you met me before that. Oh no, you didn't meet me. I met you.
Well, I met you at the event, right? The Ignite Your Soul Summit, right? You heard me speak.
Yeah.
And Jodie, is that where I met you too for the first time?
I don't think we met till the June retreat, but I saw you speak on stage, and that was like a total changer for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But so Dakota and I, we saw each other or whatever. And then she came to one of my retreats. And one of the things too, that I just want to point out to about why I love that the nest is ongoing is we do often feel like this sense of urgency, like even with one-to-one mentoring, it's got a time frame, right? It's like 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. And then it ends. And I was just like, this being human is a fucking ongoing problem. Like, I want a thing where it's ongoing support. And what could I create? And thank God for my spiritual team and Stu McLaren, who taught me about memberships and creating communities. It's just been incredible. But with Dakota, because she had a mother die. How old were you when your mom died? 21, Kealoha? 20. Yep. Okay. And so Jodie and I 12, and then like whatever. But one of the things that happens with kids who see a parent die young or they're young themselves, it feels like there's just this clock, like tick, 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 tick. So you were like on this fast track, like I got to figure it all out, and who am I, and blah blah blah, because we have this secret unconscious fear that we're gonna die. Like outliving your parent is such a fucking weird thing. I mean, it's like you just feel like you're gonna spontaneously combust on that birthday, but that's like kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggerated experience. But all of us in some sense, especially with social media and instant gratification and getting shit now and there's like this hustle culture. It's like, we got to hurry up. We got to figure this out. We got to do this. And people are like, so what are your results in 3 months? Like, what are the results? I'm like, dude, it took people 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years to get this way. We're not solving this in a 3-month program. This is a lifelong, spiritual work is a lifelong journey. But I'd rather do it with other people who are walking the path. When Eknath Easwaran, my meditation teacher, and a lot of you have come to love him too as well through his work. He's dead, but he continues to teach from the beyond. And that's what he says. You know, he says, my body is going to die, but I'm going to live on. I will continue teaching you. And that's the beauty of books, and that's the beauty of like, you know, whatever. But physically, the container for the nest is like, I wanted this continuous thing because it's not like all of a sudden we get it all fucking figured out. None of us are wearing orange robes like the enlightened Buddha. None of us are quite Jesus Christ. So we got some work to do, right? It's like, so I just feel like if I'm going to be on this journey, the importance of spiritual fellowship. And Easwaran kind of likens it to when you're trying to change yourself, ingrained behaviors, patterns, addictions, thought systems, structures, the ego. When we're trying to change ourselves and change these cultural and systemic, because all systems are people, individuals who participate in systems and governments and institutions, right? We're trying to change ourselves. You're like the salmon swimming against the current going upstream. And he always said, Easwaran does not use the word wicked, okay? Just so we're clear. But it's like, you want wicked, strong swimmers next to you.
Yeah.
You want a leader who's not going to tire, tucker out, or give up on you. And you want really strong. You know how like when geese fly and when the first one gets tired, it goes to the back and then another one leads, right? You want a community like that where other people, and if we want to take it to like more energetics, you want people who are vibing at that level of trying to be better, not do better necessarily. The behaviors, the external will come from the being, the sitting with, the daily spiritual practices, the owning your shit and being honest, the making amends, the admitting I'm having a tough day. So other people can kind of come in. One of the things I've been loving as the new people have been coming into the nest the past few days is the way all of you kind of like swoop in and welcome them and support them. And I'm like, oh my God, you know how many groups I've joined where you're just a name and nobody gives a shit because everybody's looking out for what they can get from it? So it's like having that is just like so powerful. So the next question I want to ask you guys is, if there is a tangible result, like what would you tell a friend about the nest? Or what would you tell somebody who's thinking about joining and they're on the fence and they're not sure? Like what's something, because I know they're always like, you know, what is the thing that they're laying in bed worrying about? And what is the thing that if you were just talking to your girlfriend or your guy friend or whoever, like what might you say about, like, before I used to be like this and now I'm like this, or whatever little thing you want to impart with somebody who might be listening and thinking about joining our community. And this is up for grabs. Anybody can go, just raise your little hand and we'll call on you. Dakota first. Okay. And then Kay.
I think one of the biggest things about the nest is I personally am someone who I have to test it out for myself, right? And so I did the one-on-one mentoring with you, and that gave me like the full tool belt. Like I was like ready, like let's take on the world. But then I don't always show up to every call in the nest, and I'm not always there. but I know that it's such a safe place that I get to come back to. And I know that if I fall down, if I forget who I am, if I need more reassurance, or if I just want to come back and learn something again, it's always there for me. And I think that's the most powerful part, is that no one is there to show off how great they are, or no one is there to like fix everyone else. We're just there to hold space. Like, we're just there to love each other, and we're just there to be like, hey, you're not alone. My story is a little bit different, but I've been through it too as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Kay?
Yeah, I was gonna say a similar thing. Like, I have, I guess, needed this for a long time. Like, I struggle to meet people who I enjoy spending time with. A lot of, like, either I'm judging them, or I feel disappointed by them, or it's a competition, or whatever it is. So I've struggled with sort of building a tribe for a long time. So I think and I know tons of people in my age group, and sort of multiple age groups, who feel the same. So I think it's very much exactly what you're saying, Dakota. Like, there are just people there to get something out of it too, right? Like, that's important to me, is that I would know other people who wanted to be on a similar journey. It looks different. So I think that's definitely something. But I mean, to your earlier point, Dakota, like, just trying it out, I feel like there's really nothing to lose. Like, for the nest to try it, I can't think of something else for the money that you get, like any result really, but with the amount of result that you can get, what do you say, Karen? If you're in it, if you're gonna pay for it, I don't know, if you're gonna work it.
Yeah, like, well, if you do the work, it works. But it's like, why the fuck pay for something and then like not like do, why not do it? Like, put you in. And well, I remember being on a call one time when I said to somebody, all you've invested so far is money. You need to invest some of your energy, your time, and your willingness to cut the shit, like whatever. So for me, I don't know if I'm making the point that you were.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think just that there's so much, if you are willing to put something into it. And for me, I mean, the working one-on-one with you has, to what Jodie was saying, like, laid a new foundation for me. And the nest is actually like an activity of almost challenging myself. Like, I don't often speak up in calls, so that's something that I work on. I don't really enjoy social media, but I understand it's very important to show it's the only tool we have really virtually to support other people. So like, engaging is a challenge for me, and not judging other people on calls is a massive challenge for me. So it's like, it is, aside from all the modules, which are the actual content, the whole exercise to me is just like fascinating. It's practice.
That's the whole point. I mean, the nest is about the implementation and the integration of the spiritual tools that you get in the spiritual toolkit, which is those 12 modules, which are kind of like the heartbeat of it. But it's so interesting, like, even on the calls, you get a new module each month, but then those calls take on a life of their own. Not that they're out of control, because they're not. Like, it's contained, but it's like, where it goes, I trust that spiritual team is on the job and is guiding what needs to come up. But we start with the heartbeat of that lesson. So really, for me, the nest is for people who want to walk the walk and not just fucking sit around and theorize and talk about it and read the thing. This is about, let's get into action. Let's actually live this shit. Because it's really, for me, down to earth, practical spirituality. Jodie, I can tell you. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because like, for me, like, a tangible that I could share with a friend or somebody else was, I hit a point in my life where I was like, I don't need to keep hashing out what happened. I need to stand in who I am today and start moving forward in a different way. Mm-hmm. And so the nest gave me more tools and space to do that. But for me personally, it's also given me the platform and the tactical approach to the way to talk about it, the way to introduce it and reteach it to my children. Because the last thing I want is for my 3 teenagers to be in their 40s and late 30s saying, what the fuck am I doing? I want them to know the hard shit that I've had to learn, and like, even working with my husband, that he's learning, and all of the things that we've been going through, like, over the last 10 years of our life, when really in our lives the shit hit the fan about 9 years ago. And it got real, was watching myself get to today. And it's like, oh, I do not want this to happen for my children. And so I want it to be better, easier, smarter, more efficient. So the nest has actually given me that next level of layer of tactical approaches that I can teach, and I am teaching my kids, and I'm seeing them change as a result of it. And so like I'd like if I could shout it to anybody that says finally enough is enough, I want to do better forward, regardless of the trauma and the shit you have to unpack and whatever. But if from today forward you want to do better and different, and today forward you want to teach your children or your employees or your team or whatever to also do better and be different, the nest is actually the container that allows you the details, the new approaches, the things you don't actually know, and then you can practice it, and then you can like ripple that out to the people around you. So if you're in a place or a space where you're like ready to move forward with good intention, like the nest is the foundation to help give you the support to get there. So like that would be my shout out to whoever and anyone that's listening that is, like you said, what is called but not convinced.
Yes.
Like that, convince yourself to show up if you're ready to do better today. And that's, to me, that's what it is. The spiritual stuff is really great too, and I love all of that too, but it's just that foundation of space that you can actually change patterns in
100%.
real time.
100%. Because I think people don't realize, they'll say, you know, oh, it's mindset. I'm like, samesies different. This whole thing, like the spiritual work is very practical work. It's not all just, it's not, and I did a whole podcast about stop apologizing for the woo. But I think people think of a spiritual membership as like crystals and oils, and there's nothing wrong with that stuff, but this is like blue collar spiritual. This is like, we're putting on the car hats, we're putting on the overalls, we're getting the fucking toolkit out with the wrenches. Because here's the other thing about having a toolkit and a spiritual toolkit: some days you need tweezers and some days you need a sledgehammer, and you better know which one you need that day, or you're going to have a different experience talking to your partner, your kid, your employee, whoever. Because if we don't know, first of all, some people don't even know there's a toolkit available to them. Then they just have an empty toolkit. They're like, they know they need help, they don't know what should go in it. And then it's like, so what do I do, KK, right? And having those tools available, knowing which ones to use. And to your point, Jodie, I always say to my clients and my nest members who have children, the greatest gift you can give to your kids is to get your shit together.
Amen.
Is to get it together, because that's where generational trauma stops. That's where stuff goes. Doesn't mean you're going to become perfect. Doesn't mean you're not going to blow it. But you know what you will do? You'll get better at apologizing. You'll get better at pointing out, like, oh, you'll become a better communicator, and you'll start to show up as yourself. And so they get to see you as a human being. Like, there's so many, like, I get so excited when parents come in and they say, hey, I that thing you told me, I shared it with my kid, and I'm always like, yes, like I get so excited, you know what
I mean, you could do a whole episode just on that, like,
oh,
in
maybe
itself,
I will
because
someday.
it's like amazing, like it's amazing invitation, and the nest supports that. So.
Thank you, Jodie. And Scott, is there anything that you want to say? Because you've only been in it for a little while and you're a man, and so I love getting this kind of little bit different twist and perspective. What would you say?
I would say that here's with like anything, right? If you come in and you just follow along, and even if you didn't say anything, if you did the modules and you practice, your life would have to change. It would be almost impossible for you to come in, just have a small amount of willingness, smallest amount you can think of, whatever that measurement is, the smallest measurement in the world. If you have that amount and you come in and you just go, okay, you can admit, like, for example, I admitted spiritual team. I made kind of fun of you or joke with you. Oh, here Karen's goes. She's going to talk spiritual team stuff. Okay. And then I caught in and I thought, you're hearing voices and all these shadows are sitting in your bed and we're talking. No, until I realized that, I grew up in a Catholic, in a roller coaster, holy roller church. We talked about the Holy Ghost. We did dancing, singing, waving hands, speaking in tongues, all kind of stuff. That's okay, but talking in your spiritual team's not. I'm like, it's not fucking too much different from that, right? So when I say that, what I get from it is I get the grounding, and I get to explore in a safe place the things that keep reaching at, especially at Men's Hour. There's all kind of, everything is spiritual. We get that Google, everything's spiritual. When you walk out and you stare at the bird on the bird feeder, and you lose yourself for 10 seconds, or the squirrel, or whatever, or the grown guy with the big mustache and stuff, and he's watching a cartoon, and the cartoon makes him cry. And he doesn't want to tell anybody because there's something inside him that we don't know how to get out. We were taught that with this system of the world. And so now we just have to be brave enough to realize that all the greatest men in the world are willing to surrender, learn new things, use it for my children. My children, people say, well, how do you know if you're doing good? It's very simple. You call my wife, you call all my children. Whatever they say is the answer. If they're happy, I'm doing a good job. Ask them, how's your dad? Hey, I love my dad. I hate my dad. Okay. I believe that I call my wife, say, how's Scott doing? How is he as a husband? How is he as a father? How is he as a friend? Those are the answers. And I get all that from the nest in the program of learning from all the beautiful human beings that are in there, both men and women, and all the different aspects, and understand it. Because, man, I struggled when you grow up in fundamentalism or certain ways that you're told are the only right ways. The greatest gift I ever got was from this guy named Dr. Brown. I'll just give him a little shout out. He's not going to watch this. He's not on social media. He's old. Anyways, he said, there's not one way to God. Just so you know, inside, I was told there is only one way to God. And everybody in every different religion is told there's only one way to God in their religion, except it's not true. And so the nest helps me with all that. So that's it. Yeah,
because a lot of times what you're bumping up against is the conditioning of your form, like your childhood. You'll say to me, like, I don't know, like, what about this? And so I always say, like, so Emerson says this beautiful quote. He says, and it's one of the heartbeats of the nest. And he says, God enters through a private door into every individual. And my job is to just let people know that there's a door. I can't open it for you. I can't make you walk through it, but I want you to know that there is a door to the God of your own understanding. Whatever you call it, you guys know me. I don't get hung up on names. You want to call it your higher power, the big blueberry, the universe. I don't care. I don't care. I think it's funny the way that we get weird around words, like the word God, like the G word. It has so much power, but it only has so much power because of the meaning we've assigned to it. And what I want people to do is to understand and to create their own personal meaning with whatever it is to them. Because if we don't, we are like, when an astronaut is out tethered to the spaceship and he's still floating, but at least there's a tether. When you cut that fucking thing, where are they going? Spiraling out. Boop, boop, boop. Good luck to your ass. There's no coming back to the mothership, right? So I like to take people and invite them back. And you guys are always seeing me do this, right? Divine alignment, the divine alignment. And what other thing that's really cool is, like, yesterday there was a conversation with me, Scott, and somebody else, and they had never met before. But immediately they're saying, well, you got to have a DSP. You're spiritual. Like, there's a language that starts to happen. And it's not like cultish, but it's like community. When you're all speaking the same language, when you're all starting to talk about, like, oh, my daily spiritual practice, oh, my spiritual team, STOTJ, spiritual team on the job, and you start to realize, like, oh, because your whole life is your spiritual life. When you're making food, when you're making a sandwich for your children, your food will taste different if you're making it with love or you're making it when you're fucking pissed off. People are like, oh, my Nana made the best soup. Because she put love into the soup. She put attention and care into the soup. And what the nest is about putting attention and care into you, into your own spiritual journey, putting attention into you and how you show up and you think and the beliefs. Why do I do what I do? Why do I think what I think? Why do I say what I say? So that we can adapt and adjust as necessary. Like, wow, I'm kind of a judgmental asshole. Yes, but we don't then use the spiritual tools to beat ourselves up for it. We say, what can I do? Well, I recognize that whenever I actually judge somebody else, it only feels good for a second. And then I feel awful. Because anytime you judge a brother or sister, if we're all one, who's also getting judged? You, right? So you all pointed to yourself. You know this stuff. The other thing I wanted to say too, I want to be really clear. This is all lovely and great, like Scott was saying, and the nest helps me to do this. But here's the other thing. I know that Scott also reads a bunch of books. I know that Kay read pretty much every book I ever sent her. I know that Dakota, right, is doing, Jodie, you guys are doing the work beyond the nest. The nest, like I said, I can show you the door. I can show you the spiritual toolkit and some of the tools, but it's no good if you don't go out into your life and pick them up and use them. So I want to give you guys credit for showing up. I want to give you guys credit that you'll take time out of your day, right? Like over 90 minutes to try and help others, because you have servant's heart, and that's how generous you are. Is you want.
Oh, wait, we're not getting paid, Karen?
Well,
I thought we were getting paid. Oh my
Sorry.
God.
Well,
Sorry,
that's a good
Scott.
point too, KK, because I think for some people, like you always say, like pick up what lands, or, you know, sort of use what lands for you and what feels relatable for you.
Right.
I don't think I really understood necessarily like how much you had read and how many people and how many things you've done and what exactly you were drawing from. So that has been another, I, you know, love and adore you, but it's also wonderful to hear all the other teachers, all the other books. Like I just would have never, that was a gateway for me that I would have never been able to access. And I've watched other people on the Nest, like A Course in Miracles is probably the best example, because you always say it's, you know, the bestseller that nobody reads, right? I've watched people pick it up and begin day one. I was one of them. I'm still doing it. So it was like an invitation to so many things. And I just don't think there's very many places where you would get, I mean, you can go on the internet,
It's
right?
curated content. It's curated
Exactly.
content. So what a good membership does is they give you convenience, right? Which is what Jodie was saying. Because I went first, I'm still doing my own work, but because I went first and figured out some things, it's like the person who climbs the mountain first, so they know where, oh, this is where you might fall off. This is where this happens. This is where that happens. It allows the people coming up behind you to take the route quicker. So
Yeah.
even A Course in Miracles says what A Course in Miracles does really well is it saves you time. So what a good mentor does is it saves you time, right? So you have that convenience, right? You have the convenience that it's all in one place, but it's curated content. So I have all these resources. I can say, I mean, if you saw my house, I have so many books. Scott and I always joke about this. I'm like, Scott, I'll leave you my books when I die because I got too many of them. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's like, because I read those things, now I can say, oh, you're struggling with this? Here's a book on mantras. Oh, you need this? Here's a book on meditation. Oh, you need this? Check out this. Oh, you have money issues? Oh, divine compensation, right? Oh, da, 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 da. So you have access to the library of knowledge and then what I extracted from it. And, you know, I love that too. I love being in a group where there's a lot of resources. I don't have to do them all, but I know that there's something there for me. I'm not interested in being the smartest one in the room. That's the other thing. If you guys listen to my podcast with John Berghoff, it's about collective wisdom. I don't have an ego so big. Look, we all have egos, but I love saying my teacher is Schwarin, my teacher Marianne Williamson, my teacher so-and-so. I learned this from yoga. I learned this from A Course in Miracles. I learned this from Passage Meditation, because I'm not the answer in the nest. I'm creating the container. But I love sharing all my teachers, and the guest teachers are so amazing. Like, I'm so lucky that my beautiful, smart, talented, genius friends are willing to come in. Just like I've come into Jodie's program. I taught in Jodie's program. Like you bring in people who you respect, trust, because I'm picky. I'm picky about who I let in. But so I pick the people who I think can come in and share knowledge and give a different perspective. Because I don't know what it's like to be Jewish coming up in New York. I don't know what it's like to be a guy with a penis, right? Like, I don't know what it's like to be Korean. I don't know what it's like to be an addict. I don't know. So I want different people who will come in, and I can't tell you how many times I'll have said something, and then like Brad Jensen, the sober bodybuilder, comes in, or Scott comes in, or somebody comes in, and then people start posting, oh my God, in that part where he said this, I'm like, right? Like I sat laughing. I'm like, oh my God, I've said this like 15 times. And then I go, but this is exactly why he was the right teacher, because he was going to say it in a way where they were able, either they were ready or he said it better than me or whatever the thing was. The thing was, I'm not interested in being right. I'm interested in being happy. And what makes me happy is serving the shit out of the people who are in the nest.
And you do an amazing job.
I hope you're happy.
I am pretty happy. I'm pretty annoyingly happy, right? So you guys, I want to stop it here.
I had one more thing, Karen.
Oh yeah. So I was going to say, if you have one final thing to say, I'm going to stop it here. But if you have one final thing to say, we've got, let's say like 7 minutes we got about 7 minutes. So to wrap it up. So please, Dakota, please go ahead.
I just think like I used to spend so much money on buying things to try to make myself happy and like trying to bring in physical goods or like exterior things. And like the nest is the crack that lets the light in. And like, is there guaranteed happiness from joining it? Probably, but maybe not. But like, it's worth it. Like, it's worth it to just sign up for a couple of months because I have never been as happy in my life as I am now. And I know it's from the work with Karen. And it's like, I remember what it felt like to be so in that darkness and just scared and not knowing how to find the light switch to turn it on. And that's priceless to be happy again. So why wouldn't you just try?
I love that. And yeah, so some of you are going to feel called, right? This isn't about convincing you. Some of you will hear this and you'll feel called, and you'll feel called to do the annual membership, which is you pay once. It's like getting 2 months free for the price, and you get like the bonus Course in Miracles things and whatever. But it's like, you're ready to go all in. You'll be called to go on in. And other folks are going to say, for $59, even Andre said it. Andre Norman, who's going to be our guest, right? The ambassador of hope. He's our guest teacher for April. Even he said on the podcast, trust me, I get paid $10,000 to speak. I'm worth $59. Just sign up for the month. And I was laughing because he's like, just sign up for the month and quit afterwards. I'm like, Andre, don't tell him that, right? But it was like so funny. But I agree. Like, what do you got to lose? You know, I mean, joining the nest at that rate too, Dakota, I don't drink coffee, but I did some math because I'm like, how can I equate this to people out there? It's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks a day to be in the nest. Like, you don't have to give that up. But
it's $1.66 a day.
Oh, see, Scott just did the math.
I did it the last time.
For $166 a day to have the opportunity, because people always say, really, ultimately, what's your ultimate result? What do you sell? And I said, I think one of the things that I sell, besides hope and all this thing, it's the possibility to feel different. It's the possibility to feel different. And to feel, by different, I mean better, happier, more peaceful, more connected to your self-source spirit, but also to all the relationships in your life. The course, like because right in the nest, when we're talking about the modules, it's literally a course that I'm going to be selling, right? So you guys get the course for free. Just by being in the nest, you get those 12 modules. But it's like, for me, it's like for that amount of money. And I understand too, that it's not possible for everybody. I do scholarships, right? So people can write to me and say, hey, you know, I only have a couple because it's like trying to figure out how to do it. But I am aware of, you know, economical, like there's not always equity and stuff like that, right? We're even talking about, you know, people, whatever, like you can sponsor somebody and pay for them to be in the nest. But for $59, I think it's worth a shot to see just what it's like and to have the experience. And again, here's what I don't want. I don't want you to come into this because somebody else made you, you think you should. I genuinely only want to work with people who are curious, who are willing, and who are going to get some skin in the game and show up and do the work. This isn't therapy. It's not a bitch fest. It's for people who are like, I realize that there's something wrong. I've been trying to do this my own way. I clearly need help. And I'm vulnerable enough to know, because our strength lies in our vulnerability, like Scott was saying. And I just want to hang out with people who are positive and like-minded and who are trying to better themselves, because if we want to change the world, we got to change our own damn self first. So Dakota, thank you for that. Anybody else want to say anything in the last, get a minute each?
Well, real quick, I just think it's hard to invest in ourselves, but once you do, like all of a sudden you're like, shit, why didn't I do that earlier? So I think that like, so for the $59 to come in, it's great. And I also think that there's a large community, because I have a podcast as well.
Yes.
A large community that will self-teach by listening to podcasts and binging content and all that. But that does not give you the tactical, practical deployment of action that actually gives you the change in your life that you want. So if you are a KK binger, which I know many people that are, that
they're secret binges. I have like a secret army of people, but I don't even know that they're there. It's like, so,
and that's fine. But like, if you're listening and you are a binger and you're like, I listen and I love this and I try it and I try it and I try it, but you're still like, you're not crossing that line, you're not getting the results you want, it's because you don't have the right support community. And that's what the nest is. So I just want to like put that out there. And like, that investment is so hard to do for ourselves. It's so easy to do for everybody around us, to give to everybody else. But when we actually start to invest in ourselves, the outpouring that we can give to everybody else is so much greater. So like, give yourself a shot. That's
Jodie?
all. Yeah,
I want to
give
say
it a
one
shot.
thing too, and here's the thing. I understand Karen says no convincing, but I just want to tell you this. I am a car guy, right? But the thing is, former car guy. Here's the thing. $59 is nothing no matter what anyone says. I understand a very small amount of people who really couldn't do it. But I'll tell you what, if I sat down with any human being, except for a few, a majority of them, I could come up with their budget and show you where you're spending money on foolish things, whether it's a Monster drink, a Coke, it's all kind of foolishness. And once you set to commit to yourself, there's a voice in the back, oh, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. That's bullshit. Of course you can. And you heard it talk about the scholarship. Of course you can, but something doesn't want to get you better. So it's going to put up the walls. It's going to tell you all kinds of reasons. And yes, it's no good buying a gym membership and not exercising. So it's no good giving the 59. You give the 59, you go for the 4 weeks, you raise your hand, you participate, you do every module, and at the end, you don't feel good, you call me and you tell me that. I dare you to do that. Go ahead.
Scott, you should be on infomercials.
Well, I know. I know Karen doesn't want to do it. It doesn't come from Karen. I'm not getting paid. I'm a sarcastic guy.
I love it.
I'm just letting you know it's the truth. If you go in, you do it for 30 days. You go there. Don't sit there. Raise your hand. No one's going to know what happens in the nest stays in the nest, right? No one's going to know. Participate. Do the work, and then say you don't feel good after the 30. Just a little. If you feel good, just a little, we win. Just a little. That's it.
Look, I if you guys want to just do all my marketing for me, I will just like once a week do a live with you, and you can tell everybody about the nest. And here's
it really works, KK, though. It really does. It's not about that. It really works.
I know. Thank you, sweetheart. And what I want to say to the people, Kay, did you have anything you want to say before I
think everyone has said it. I feel exactly the same.
So I guess what I wanted to say is the beautiful thing about the nest is you don't just get me, you get beautiful people like this. You get beautiful people like this. And again, it's the collective wisdom. You have different points of view. You have people who are going to love on you. You have people who, and it's like, I always say, you will get out of the nest what you put into the nest.
Amen.
It's not for me to fix you, heal you, make you better, whatever. I can give you the tools and I can tell you that there's a door. God enters by a private door into every individual, but I can't make you walk through the door. And I just feel like the other thing I'll say to Jodie's point about investing, you know, Rabindranath Tagore has this beautiful quote. I say it all the time because I believe it, and it's one of the heartbeats of the nest. But everything that belongs to you, everything that is yours, it will come to you if you create the capacity to receive it. And so this is about creating the capacity to receive the love that is yours, the worth that is yours, not just for you. So then you can go out into the world, create your own little nest in your own little way, in your family, in your home, in your business, in your community, whatever you're trying to do, the art you're trying to create, the voice you're trying to use, whatever it is that you're doing. And we would love, love, love to have you come be one of the nesties, be one of the peacocks who wants to like spread their tail feathers and do their thing. And you guys, I love you to death. Thank you so much for being on the show. Let's just do a quick closing. And then I literally have to be on a call in 4 minutes. Woo! Cutting it close, KK. All right, so here we go. Let's just take a moment. First of all, I just want to take a moment of gratitude for these beautiful people, for Kay and Dakota and Scott and Jodie for taking up their time. And for you listeners for taking time out of their day to also speak with you. Moment of gratitude for our spiritual teams for bringing us together. That out of all the billions of people on the planet, somehow we found each other in our way to the nest, to spiritual community. Moment of gratitude for our spiritual teams, for the divine, for God, for love, for source, for Holy Spirit, all the names that you can imagine, the higher power, for never abandoning us, even though we often abandon ourselves. For putting up with our shenanigans and never giving up on us. Please have us go where you would have us go. Have us do what you would have us do. Have us say what you would have us say, and to whom please use us. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
If you're listening to the sound of my voice, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. I celebrate you. I see you, and I appreciate you. Wherever you go, may you leave the people, the place, the animals, and the environment better than how you found it. Wherever you go, may you be a blessing. Bye. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Karen Kenney Show. I super duper appreciate your time, friendship, and support. And look, if something that I shared from my heart today somehow landed in yours, I'd love to hear about it. So please tag me on Facebook or Instagram or IG stories or wherever the cool kids are hanging out these days, and let me know what your favorite part was or what you found most helpful. You can find me over at Karen Kenney Live. That's Karen, KenneYlive. And if you're digging what I'm saying and you want to hear more, I'd be wicked grateful if you could go to iTunes and subscribe and leave a review, because you guys, that's how you'll help me to keep spreading the love. And if you can think of someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, please share it with them. I'd also love to stay connected with you. So if the feeling is mutual, please go to KarenKenney.com/freebie and download my free guide to building your spiritual team. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, keep living in the fearless flow. Know that I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you. And wherever you go, may you be a blessing.